Gentleman and lady who, according to YouTube analytics, keeps coming to this channel to watch videos about RPG horror stories. Today we will have two of them. One of them is a funny rant about things that some of Dungeon Masters may be familiar with. And the second story is extra long and it involves everything a good DM can do to his party. Stat manipulation, railroading, favoritism in targeting, and eventually players' frustration. A good recipe for a good game. Let's start with the rant. You want to tame the spider. You want to tame the spider that is the size of a horse, that is in the middle of the combat encounter with the party being commanded by a triad of Drow. You have no animal handling skills whatsoever, no experience with animals or spiders in your backstory, as opposed to Drow, who practically went to high school with them. You're becoming irate with me. You accuse me of not wanting you to tame the spider, who is now even trying to eat you. Because I don't want you to have a giant spider that you could, theoretically, put a saddle on and ride into battle. Because I'm being unfair. You, who are being attacked by Drow and spiders, expected that a spider is going to roll over for belly rubs in mid-battle. Because blank. Hell, why don't you try and tame the Drow? At least they can understand what you're saying. But no, you want the horse-sized spider. Thinking about it, I would want some of those too. And you don't understand why you can't tame a giant homicidal arthropod in the middle of a battle. You have no animal handling skills, no magic, no empathic powers, psionic, or even much a charisma score. You're not a ranger, you're a rogue, for potatoes' sake. So, alright, fine. Peachy, how do you want to do this? You open your pack in mid-battle and offer the giant spider a serving of iron ration. No, you vapor-brained nitwit. The spider does not want your iron rations. In fact, given a spider's intelligence and a diet, it is better than even odds that he doesn't even understand that iron rations are food. And yes, he did hit you, because you gave up your initiative to open your pack and go looking for your lunch instead of defending yourself from the giant friggin' spider. No, spiders do not eat dried fruit, or jerky, or nuts, or cheese. In fact, every variety of spider I have ever heard of is a fucking predatory liquivore, who injects his victims with poison and digestive juices, and then sucks him dry like a friggin' milkshake. He doesn't want your cheese and dried apples. He wants yummy, tasty you. He wants to kill you and eat you in the manner described above. I'm a dick. Why am I a dick? For telling you that trying to tame a monster in mid-battle is an extremely bad idea. Oh, because the spider continues to attack despite your friendly overtures. The spider does not give a bucket of farts about your friendly overtures. Its Drow masters command it to attack. This command agrees with its predatory instincts. It does not care if you are friendly. It doesn't care if you fight back. It is going to attack you until your hit points are gone. And then suck you dry like Kid Rock treats a six-pack, Charlie. I'm a dick because horse-sized spider might not be predators. They might just like cheese and dried apples. And I refused to stop the entire game in mid-combat to break out the monster manual and determine the dietary preferences of spiders. Giant. And no, I'm not going to do that. And if you don't tell me what you are doing this turn, the spider is going to take initiative and bite you again. And now we're back to I just don't want you to have a pet spider. To be honest, that's neither here nor there. The Drow have pet spiders. Duigar have pet spiders. Ettercaps have pet spiders, and not a one of them pitched a fit because their spiders wouldn't hold still for cheese and dried apples. No, just no. Either fight or come up with something sort of semi-coherent plan, with a full explanation of why this spider would suddenly disobey its Drow masters because you're just so fucking charismatic with your cheese and dried apples. Why yes, I could explain. Drow and Duergar raise their spiders from hatchlings. They have dedicated animal handling skills, passed down for generations, and they still have to work at keeping the little 8-legged horrors from attacking them, particularly when they are hungry. Here they go through a lot of goblin slaves, especially in mating season. Such is the way of a widely unintelligent, instinct-driven predatory arachnids. But these Drow and Duergar, they know what they are doing. You don't. You don't even know what spiders eat. And yet you want this one to lay down and be your teddy bear. Well, this is what we call wishful thinking, and I'm afraid I'm not going to honor it, or stop the game in mid-fight to provide detailed instructions on precisely how one would go about taming a giant spider. No, there are 5 other people at the table, and I'm going to respect their wish to play D&D, as opposed to stopping the world because you want a lecture on advanced arachnology. Capish? I'm a dick, and you don't want to play. Fine. The door is right there. Step away from the table, Charlie, and do let me know when you find a DM who's ready to play the game your way. I had one player who told the DM something like that. Actually, this group deserves its own story, and I might share it someday with you guys. But not today. What do you think about this rant? I think it is a little bit more emotional than it should have been. But we are getting closer to the next one. DM makes every player characters on the back burner and ignores player choice entirely. The campaign was pitched as a Lord of the Rings meet Game of Thrones, with a heavy Shadow of Mordor vibe. Lots of political intrigue, dark fantasy stuff sounded amazing. At the party, a dwarven barbarian trying to reclaim his lost glory after years of military life. A bard knight, a smooth talker type who could charm his way out of anything. Me, the warlock, a prince of a nation under siege who made a pact with a forgotten celestial goddess for the power of foresight. And then there is Kessler. They joined a bit later and ended up playing multiple characters, mostly because the DM kept killing them off. So, Session 0 begins and everything seems great. The DM is charismatic, fun, and really into world building. We all build our characters, and the barbarian, no issues. The bard, locked in. Me, I tell the DM on our voice call, hey, I want my character's story to be deeply tied to his religion, not his dad or his politics. He's kind of distant from all that. A DM says, sounds good. Kessler joins later, after Session 0 but before Session 1. Playing a Goliath fighter, a slave fighting for his freedom, super gritty, very cool. So far, good vibes. Session 1 kicks off, and things get dramatic fast. The party is invited to a royal banquet hosted by the Grand King himself. It is meant to celebrate the death of an orc war chief. Midway through the king's big speech, the doors slam open, a band of orcs storms in, strikes down the king, and kills my character's father on the spot. We are all taken hostage. The next couple of sessions, honestly not bad, but that was just the calm before the storm. Now we are 3 sessions in, and this is where things start to nosedive. My character's been receiving visions from his goddess, warnings, hints about future danger. At this point he is torn. Should he go after the throne now that his father is dead, or follow his goddess and seek the truth behind these visions? That's when the party gets sent to an old temple, a shrine that used to be devoted to my deity. I'm thinking, yes! Finally, this is where my arc really begins. But oh how I was wrong. We meet the current keeper of the temple, a noble exiled from my homeland, and his husband, a wood elf named Kieran, who also follows my fate. I'm hyped. My character finally meets someone who shares his beliefs. Kieran pulls me aside later and starts talking, sharing knowledge, diving deep into the lore of our goddess, and then he drops the bomb. You are a prophet. It is your destiny to travel to the higher planes, to reach enlightenment. If you succeed, you will be the first mortal to do so. I'm thinking, this is it. This is the path. What could possibly go wrong? Here's the catch. I can only pursue this holy journey if I go with Kieran and his husband, because apparently they are the only ones who know the way. Oh, and just to spice things up, his husband has just murdered Kessler's character upstairs. Why? No idea. Seriously, I asked him, why would you do this? And his response, your friend was a threat. A threat? You mean the guy who was unarmed, and literally helping your guards patrol for intruders? That one guy. The one who just offered to help you protect your temple. Oh, at this point, the whole thing feels off. The setup for my character's arc, this divine quest, this destiny, gets yanked away like it was never real. Almost like the DM dangled it in front of me just to snatch it back for the drama. I don't know, just because of one NPC making a mistake and killing some extra character we don't know anything about. Now the mood for you is lost? Dude, take it easy, what will happen next? And then the Lord, the same guy who killed Kessler, decides to summon a horde of orcs to attack his own temple. So now we are fleeing into the woods like fugitives. There, in some hidden grove, I find my mother, along with my brother and sister. They've been taken in by wood elves. I go to her for advice, looking for clarity, and she tells me to pursue the throne, to claim it, to rule lawyer. Here's where things get weird. See, my homeland hates wood elves, like genocidal hate. They consider them monsters. And now here's my mother, a wood elf, who's been persecuted and shunned her whole life by my people, telling me her half-elf son to go back and become their king. A king of people who literally hate who I am. And she is insisting on it. I push back, tell her I'm not sure, that I feel torn, but she keeps pressing, and eventually I cave. So now, the next arc of the campaign becomes this half-hearted Game of Thrones plot, where I am trying to reclaim a throne I never asked for, all because that's what the DM thought my story should be. Anyway, a few sessions later, Kessler is back. His new character? A shy rogue in deep cover. He is part of a conspiracy to assassinate the Archbishop and has joined our party to increase his odds. He plays the character like a spy master, very cool. He's got informants all over the capital, a whole underground network of thieves and peasants feeding him intel. As I start making alliances and building political power, a new guy enters the picture. Let's call him a weirdo. Ever since he arrived in the city, women and peasants have been going missing, turning up dead. So naturally I tell Kessler's character, hey, get your spies to keep an eye on this guy. Something is not right. And the response? You can't do it. I'm like, why not? Because you don't have any evidence it's him. I'm sorry. What? Didn't you just say people have been vanishing since this guy showed up? But that's not enough evidence. I will team up with the DM on this matter. You can't blame a guy without any chunk of an evidence. You can't blame the judge. Suspicious. He just appeared and people started missing. When I appear and the mood of the game starts appearing, nobody notices it. But when people start disappearing when I appear, suddenly it is me who probably make it. So DM replies, still doesn't mean it's him. That should have been my cue to leave, right there. But like absolute fools, me and Kessler stayed. Well, yeah. I mean, you can advise players not to judge books by their covers, but actually say you can't do it because you have no evidences? How would you receive any evidences if you don't spy on someone? Me and Kessler stayed. So, we begin prepping for this massive gala, the event where all the noble houses will publicly declare their loyalties. Just as a quick side note, if it seems like I've been hogging the spotlight, it's because I have, not on purpose. I told the DM multiple times I wasn't comfortable with being at the center of attention for this long. I even dreaded showing up to sessions. I wanted other players to have arcs, hooks, moments, but that never happened, and it started to seriously wear me down. Anyway, gala night. The nobles begin to arrive, the tension is high. And then a new enemy enters the scene, a mysterious masked lady, clearly from a rival house. Kessler notices her, tells her across the ballroom, rolls a 24 on stealth, should be a success, right? Nope, she somehow just vanishes. No trace, no explanation, just gone. Then the royalties start rolling in. Some nobles side with my uncle, some with me. Those in favor of me are told to stay in place, those against move to the left side of the room. Some just walk out early. Now it is time for my party to announce where they stand. Barbarian, loyal. Bard, loyal. Kessler, not loyal, but it's a ruse. He is trying to infiltrate enemy ranks. He rolls a 23 on deception. Instead of being told to move left like the others, he gets escorted to a carriage. Okay, odd, but fine. What follows is baffling. He is taken outside. The masked lady from earlier is there. She greets him by name. Now remember, up to this point, Kessler's entire thing was being a quite shadowy operator. Fake names, no trails, always covering his tracks. The DM even confirmed this. No one should know who he is. But sure, she knows him. She asks where his loyalties lie. Kessler rolls another deception, 17. The lady doesn't even roll inside. She just stabs him for 68 damage. We're level 8. He survives only because of uncanny dodge, but he is taken hostage and disappears from the story. Next session, Kessler is being tortured in what is essentially an unskippable cutscene. It's going to last 2 full sessions. I will end in his death, and there's nothing he can do about it. Doesn't sound like a good game for this poor Kessler. I mean, I had some bad ones, but this sounds like I would not going to go in there. To listen how my character is being tortured? Come on. DM, what the fuck were you thinking? Meanwhile, the rest of us are defending the capital from this lady's invading forces, who are apparently working for my uncle. At the battle setup, there are 3 war chiefs, each one controlling a section of the battlefield. Lose a war chief, you lose the map, you retreat. High stakes, lots of pressure. And guess who is leading the troops? Kessler. The player, not the character. Because his character is currently off screen being tortured to death. The worst combat I've ever played. This combat was a complete disaster from start to finish. It started with a barbarian enemy sprinting 50 feet across the battlefield, and then somehow taking 3 actions to swing a great axe and knock me out, all after using dash. Already breaking action economy right out of the gate. Then the DM brings in his own blade singing wizard PC from a completely different campaign, and surprise, it is a min-maxed monster that deals absurd damage and steals the spotlight. Awesome. Why does a DM need to steal a spotlight from anyone? He is in the spotlight the whole game. To make things worse, the enemy are loaded with a custom poison that disables verbal components for 2 full turns, effectively rendering both my spellcaster and the bard useless. And that was just the beginning. Every enemy hit like a truck. Meanwhile, we were struggling to deal 30 damage on a perfect roll. I remember vividly, I got hit once for 20 damage, followed immediately by a second strike for 30 plus 12 poison damage. It was brutal. Then there's Kessler. He was stuck for 2 whole sessions trying to escape his captors. When he finally manages it, he gets immediately shot and killed. Honestly, it felt cruel. And splitting the party like that made things even worse. After that miserable fight, the DM finally hands out magic items for the first time in over 15 sessions. The barbarian gets a sword that transforms into a whip and can yank enemies 15 feet closer. You basically turned this man into Shao Kahn. The bard gets nothing, and no idea why. Kessler? Also nothing, because he was dead. As for me, I get a rapier that lets me bonus action Misty Step and cast a cantrip up to 5 times per short rest. 5 times. Are you seriously telling me that's balanced? I don't know. You tell me. Because as far as I think, cantrips are the ones that can be casted however many times you want. They don't use spell slots. 0 spell level. And then comes Kessler's new character, a wood elf rebel leader fighting against human oppression. Sounds cool. Everything sounds cool with this OP, except the DM immediately contradicts the character's backstory by having him act friendly and polite for the same human guards who turned a blind eye to the enslavement of his people. Because Kessler was new, we were each assigned custom level 3 bodyguards tailored to our needs, except every single one was clearly AI generated. You say it like something bad. The DM demonstrated what they could do with a little visual. A level 3 monk NPC doing what can only be described as a Tekken combo on Kessler's character, juggling him with backflips, kicks and absurd of acrobatics. This monk did 70 damage Again, level 3, what? Now I say what? How do they come up with the numbers like that? To this day I have no idea what the dice the DM was rolling, or if he was just multiplying the results for fun. And this wasn't a one-time thing. Every NPC we fought somehow hit like legendary boss. How did they manage to survive all that time? I threw like 6 or 7 necrotic rats on 2 of my mage players, and they barely survived. Those people take 70 damage and keep on battling. Finally, near the end of the session, I tried to create an alliance with the Barbarian's Dwarven clan for extra support in the war effort. Before the Barbarian could even respond, the DM shuts it down. No discussion, just a hard no. Railroad confirmed. And that's where I left the campaign. There is more, of course, but words honestly can't capture how frustrating and exhausting it all was. If you've got questions, I'll try to clarify, but yeah, that was the experience. And no, DM, your campaign wasn't a Lord of the Rings mid-Game of Thrones. If anything, Tolkien and George R.R. Martin would rise from their graves just to slap the notes out of your hands. Is George Martin dead? No, dude, he seems to be alive. Bruh. Not that I watched Game of Thrones, I've never could do it past first season, tried it like 2 or 3 times. But as far as I am concerned, there were not so many bad things OP told about his DM, if not all of those ridiculous amounts of damage. Sometimes DMs just need to tell no. And here we refer to the first story where DM was raging on this player who wanted to roll for things he wasn't supposed to roll. As for my game, rolls of dice just create new storylines and reverse the existing ones. So tell me, what is your thoughts about all that? Cringe console? It's up to you to decide who was in the wrong. Till the next time.